If you are starting with Linux or you are just having a hard time choosing a specific distribution, then this talk might be just for you. I will show you what are the components that makes a Linux distro, how they differ from one another, and how you can choose one distribution over the other. These are good times for Linux and open source in general. There is a lot to choose from, but this multitude of choices can also be a bit overwhelming for those that are just starting out or don't have much experience. Try to draw like an architecture of a Linux distro or any operating system actually. So I'll be starting with the most important component, which is the kernel right here. So the features of the kernel can be hardware drivers. These are like the low level features of the operating system, right? Process management, the networking stack. We also have here the file system, uh, memory management, even security features like firewall are also implemented in the kernel. And there are others also, but these are the main ones that you expect to find in a kernel. All right. And on this outer layer, I can we are closer to the user. So here we have the user apps or the services. It doesn't have to be a desktop system. It can be a server, right? We have system management tools. We need to be able to customize and configure our operating system or distro. What else we have here? We have things like Explorer, File Explorer, right? It's like a user app, but it's a very crucial application that you need to have on a distribution. Also very important is package management. All right, uh, internet browser and things like this. Also very important, the graphical environment. All of these are normal features that you would expect to find in any operating system and Linux distro for that matter. And there is also another thing that I want to specify for a distro. Let me drag this a bit to the side. And here I will say repository. Sorry. Let me put it here. Here you will find all those apps that you want to install, like Midnight Commander or Firefox, Apache server, whatever. All of these files, specific libraries, You will find those in a repository, and it will be very easy for you to install them. And although the repository is not part of the operating system, I think it's part of the Linux distribution and the ecosystem of the Linux distribution. So you need to also, when you are judging and evaluating a Linux distro, you need also to take into account the repository. The repository, it's just a cloud service where you will find all these packages and be able to install them. And there are also user repositories. Um, Many distributions are building like a community, user community that can be very useful, and they are providing sometimes solutions that can be useful. Anyway, so as you can see, there are quite a lot of elements that can differ from one distribution to the other. And if you want, there is this website, distrowatch.com, that has like list of the most popular, like they are ranking the top 100 Linux distros here, and I think they are counting the number of downloads per day or something like that. So if you want to choose a distribution, this can be a good place to start. You can choose any distribution in the top 10, let's say, if you don't have any experience. But again, if you don't have any experience, don't expect to understand all these things all at once. You need to take your time and have some time with these things. And also, after some time, after a couple of, I don't know, 1 year, 2 years, and after you have some experience and exposure to Linux distro, you will find out that they are not really that different actually, and they are all using or implementing the same open source tools and now it also very much depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to find a Linux distro that works for you, it has a nice, comfortable graphical environment where you can run your apps that you use on a daily basis, that's fine. But I'm addressing to the professional user who wants to know Linux at the professional level. And in this aspect, you don't always have the luxury and the comfort of your favorite Linux distro, and you need to be able to adapt and at least know enough to have the any distribution work for you and at least configure it in a way that that works for you. So getting back here to the Distrowatch, they're also having this periodic table of Linux distros where they are listing the, let's say, the top players, and you'll also find a graphical representation of the Linux. This is called the Linux family tree, and as you can see, it's hundreds of Linux distros. I will zoom on it and tell you more about a couple of those distros. One important thing is to observe that there are a couple of originators here, right? Here, here also, and the question is, who are these? These what are these origins? I will tell you. One of them is Slackware, which is like the oldest or one of the oldest Linux distributions that still lives today, and actually they released a version this year. after quite a while. This I think is the Red Hat branch, and here the biggest branch of them all is the Debian based distros. Let's click on this and get closer. So as I told you, this one here is Slackware, and all of these are distros based on Slackware. Then we have Fedora and Red Hat. Fedora is actually a fork from Red Hat, right? And all of these are Red Hat based distros. And there are also a couple of distros that do not have this large ecosystem and user base also, and FreeBSD is one of them. All right, Mandriva, and here is the largest that I told you, which is Debian based distributions. Let's get to the root of this. Here is Debian. All right, so as you can see, there are quite a lot. There are hundreds of distros out there. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I'm waiting for you in the next lessons. Bye bye.